Hello and welcome to another Wednesday on the Den and another I don't really have time to do this video but fuck it, I need to do this video, let's get it done quickly kind of videos. So, hi! This week is all about news and current affairs. And why am I so busy? Well, I know it's not really news and current affairs, but I'll just let you know quickly. Basically, the car's fucked. There's lots of organising to do with that, and running around, and new job's very busy, and doing long hours, and blah 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 blah. Anyway, basically, there's a lot of shit going on in my life right now. And a lot of expensive shit that's going on in my life right now, which means that potentially I might not be able to do Bear Scott Fest, which is very, 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 very sad. But hopefully I should know more by the end of the week and by payday to work out if I can actually afford to do everything on top of the stuff that I have to pay for. So what I want to talk about is quite a loud and controversial subject, something that probably isn't talked that much about outside of the UK, you know, except for passing comments in the news, which is basically the referendum on if Scotland is going to be independent or not, which is happening this week, tomorrow, on Thursday. And yes, fine, I am English born, I'm half, you know, American, half British, but I did live for 3 years in Scotland, and, you know, if I had continued living there, then I would actually be voting in this referendum. So, you know, I do feel that I have a little bit of a voice on the matter. I haven't really said much about it, but, you know what, the main thing that I have found about the whole referendum, and all of the debates, and all of the things that are being said, is there is not actually a clear answer over what will happen if a yes vote happens or if a no vote happens. And fine, throw facts, throw figures at me, but you might as well throw quotation marks around those facts and figures, because a lot of those have been printed by politicians and researchers and stuff to basically sway you either way in an argument. We're not actually going to know what's going to happen until it actually happens, unfortunately. Because, like anything, politicians make promises that they can't always keep, and, you know, politicians are basically looking for you to support them and their agenda. It doesn't always mean that they'll stick to it and stick to what they say. Their best interest is them, not the people. I'm sorry, I don't like politicians that much. And, you know, you might say, oh well, it's better to have a government that's going to be governing us from Edinburgh rather than a government that's going to be governing us from Westminster, however many hundreds of miles away. I would just like to point out America at this point, where, you know, the government is up here and then, like, the country sort of expands out around it. And you know what? That's the same in every place. You know, you have your capital of a country, which is your political capital. And yes, fine, it might be hundreds of miles from everywhere, but that's why we have elected politicians and MPs that then travel from their local constituency down to that place, or up to that place, or to that place, so they can govern on behalf of you, because they are from that area. They are people from that area. So you have got politicians from all over Scotland that travel down to Westminster to govern the population because they are from your constituency. So surely the whole argument of, oh well, we don't want people governing us from Westminster, well, they're your people that you have elected, that you have put there. So what's the problem? And at the end of the day, if you've got a capital in Edinburgh, well, what's to say that the people up in Shetland haven't got the same argument of, oh, the people in Edinburgh are so far away, they shouldn't be governing us? It's the same argument. Yes, they are both Scottish, but you know what, we're all British, we're all on the Great British Isle, and to be fair, you moving away from being, you know, being an independent country, you're still going to be part of Great Britain. And For those people who are a bit confused, the Queen will still be the Queen. She is still the Queen of Scotland. They're getting independence as a country, but not independence from the Crown. So there's a friend that I've got down in Australia who's all about, oh yay, independence from the Crown, blah, blah, blah. Scotland should totally go for it. No, she's still going to be the Queen of Scotland. Sorry. I think there's loads of weird things about the currency stuff, you know, because the UK MPs are basically saying no, they're not going to be able to use the pound, and the Scottish MPs are saying yes, we are going to be able to use the pound. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, fine, Scotland may try and use the pound, but it won't have a physical bank to back it up. So it gets really confusing, and I really don't feel that there are any clear answers until it happens, because we don't know who's going to stick their heels in, we don't know who's going to go, yeah, that's fine, just use it, do this thing. But until it happens, it won't happen. So really, at the moment, it's all about, not really politics, but more about what you feel, how you feel personally. So, you know what, if the Scottish people feel that they would like to be governed by a government that's in Edinburgh, that is built up of solely Scots people, then that's what they should have. You know, yes, personally, if I was still living in Scotland, I would probably vote no. And I would want to keep together, but that's a British person living, well, an English person living in Scotland, living in Edinburgh. You know, I do think it's going to be slightly difficult to keep certain things like the free prescriptions and the great education system that Scotland has when they're going to have so many more financial commitments now. You know, hopefully Scotland doesn't default on the debt that it owes as part of the UK debt, because then that's going to push up interest rates and God knows whatever else. There's loads of little things. Yes, there's lots of positives for Scotland splitting away. I would say there is an equal amount of negatives for Scotland splitting away. So at the end of the day, when you vote, I feel that you should vote for what you feel is right. A lot of people have gone away and done their own research, and they've made their own decision. I know people who've moved from the yes camp to the no camp, and vice versa from the no camp to the yes camp. And it's purely been done because of the research that they've done, or because of the arguments that have been put forward to them and the debates that they've had with friends. And yes, I probably would have been more vocal about this if I had still lived in Scotland. And you know what? I am kind of in an opinion of it doesn't overly affect me with being in Manchester, and that might be narrow-minded, and I do apologise. But I love Scotland. I loved living there. I do miss it. And I will still always visit there. I feel that with the Scottish referendum, people should do what is best for them and vote the way that they feel right. I do find it strange that when you compare it to the Canadian referendum, when I think it was Montreal wanted to split off, or is it Quebec or something? Anyway, when the French bit of Canada wanted to split off and be its own country, and in the end they voted no. And people then sort of went, right, you've had your say now, so shh. I wonder if the no's win on Thursday, if that's the same kind of thing that will happen. But I do think it will be very interesting to see what will happen if the yes-was win. And, you know, partly it's probably because I hate Alex Salmons, but to be fair, once the referendum has gone through, he might be leading the country to start with, but they're going to have a full election afterwards, and, you know, there is the potential that he's not going to be leading the country, which would be a great thing, because he's a dickhead. Anyway, so, hi! Yes, that is my news and current affairs done as quickly as possible. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week, guys, and I will see you next Wednesday. Don't forget that if you are in Scotland, you are voting tomorrow. Also, what do you think of people being able to vote at the age of 16 and 17? I'm personally going for it's not the greatest idea. Because at the age of 18, I still was a bit like, ew, I don't know what I should vote. And fine, yes, they're talking about it in schools and all the rest of that jargon. But those pupils in the schools are going to be influenced by their teachers, by their parents, and God knows whatever else. And yes, fine, as adults we're influenced by the media, our friends, our families and stuff. But I feel that a person of 16 and 17 may be more susceptible to people saying, oh, you should vote for this person, or they're going to vote for that person because their friend is voting for that person. That might be me being a bit naive and thinking that 16 and 17-year-olds are still very young to have all of this kind of power and voice. And yes, fine, it's their generation that's going to be governed by this new country, or not country, because it's going to still be part of the UK or whatever. But I don't know. I know that some people who are 16 and 17 are very excited to be able to vote on this matter. I'm just not so sure if they should. I'm in a bit of two minds about it. But what do you think? Should 16 and 17-year-olds be allowed to vote? Yes? No? What do you think? Okie dokie. So yeah, that was some extra rambles. I will see you next week. Goodbye!